Put down your baby and pick up a beer. Dad Jokes is back with a brand new episode. I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon, and you're listening to the podcast of two dads going through the journey of fatherhood while you get to listen to us do it. And Brandon, I'm not going to lie, I'm excited about today's episode. It's been a couple weeks. A ton has happened in my household. In today's topic, if you would have told me a month ago we were talking about this today, I probably would have not been happy at all. But today I'm actually pretty excited to talk about it. I think it's going to be a good topic, and I got a lot to share on it. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great episode.
Well, A, you better be, because this was your idea. Two, B, that was the most enthusiastic beginning to an episode I think we've had in like 3 or 4 months. So keep the same energy all episode. I'll match it.
Well, what the people at home don't know is that was like what our third shot at it, because you started laughing or I started laughing. I don't know. Anyways,
yeah. Well, I sneezed in the first one.
Well, you know it's a good episode too, Brandon, because I always say put down your baby, pick up a beer, but today it's pick up a bourbon. I got a little bit of bourbon. And I'm feeling pretty good tonight in this episode. I haven't even taken a sip of it yet until just a second ago, but I'm feeling it's going to be a good episode. So before we get too crazy.
I'm matching you there too, because I got a few long drinks in front of me, and I haven't had a drink of anything because I've been sick or dealing with something that had me on medication I couldn't drink on. It's been like probably 3.5 weeks. So
it has
turn
not,
up.
because the last time you drank was with me, and we were at a football game, and that was not 3.5 weeks ago. But I like it.
What was it, 2.5 weeks ago?
Yeah, but 2.5.
2.5 weeks. You could have let me get away with that.
I could have. But speaking of getting away with, or saying just
2.5, 3.5.
You got a dad joke, Brandon, or am I leading with a dad joke today?
Yeah, it's a perfect time for me to give a dad
All right,
joke.
Let's hear it.
What do you call a food fight with an unlimited amount of food?
Having a toddler?
No. What do you call a food fight with an unlimited amount of food? All you can yeet.
Nice. I just think of that kid.
All you can yeet.
In that video, Brandon, did you watch that video where that kid, he chucks it, and the coach goes, eat it, and then he chucks it, and the kid goes, why'd you throw it? I told you to eat it. And he goes, I thought you said yeet it. It's like an older guy as a coach. He goes, what? And the other kid's like, he doesn't know what that means.
I'm just glad you knew what it meant, because Kelsey was convinced you weren't going to know what yeet meant.
Oh, yeah. I'm hip, Kelsey. I'm
Okay.
definitely, I'm in it. What did I say this
Jerry's
week to you?
hip.
And you got mad at me for saying? Oh, I think I said
can't
no
remember.
cap.
Everything
no
that
cap,
you
yeah.
said? Yeah,
And
it
you
was
got
no
mad at
cap,
me.
actually. Yeah.
I like it. What's
Good
been going
job,
on in the
Joe.
Banks household, Brandon?
A whole lot. I guess we'll start with the baby Banks to come. We had an anatomy scan, a pretty in-depth anatomy scan for the new baby, and we have one more that'll be coming in a couple weeks. And this is the first time that so I've always seen like those like 3D pictures of like faces and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's the first time we didn't actually get it, but that we even got close to getting it. I feel like we've had some bad luck with ultrasounds in the past, but we're able to see everything from the baby's heart, pretty much all vitals. We were able to confirm that it was a boy. So that 99.9 percentile went to 99.999 percentile.
There you go.
Which was good. There are a few things from like the brain and lips and stuff like that they weren't able to fully see, so we got to go back. But nothing that they're really worried about. So that was fun. We celebrated. I don't think we've had a conversation since Halloween, or it was before Halloween.
It was before Halloween.
So, yeah. So Bryce won his Elmo. He got to trick or treat his first ever house, which was his favorite, one of his favorite people in the world, our neighbor, Mr. Jonathan. So he got to go to Mr. Jonathan's house and trick or treat and got some candy, and then he passed out candies to kids for 2 hours. And it seems like on social media, a lot of people have been complaining about like the trunk or treats ruining Halloween. Like everybody goes to trunk or treats, and then people don't have a lot of kids that come around to their house. You got a lot of older people or first time home buyers, younger people who like get super excited, get a bunch of candy for Halloween, and they get nobody that comes through. That was not the case in our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is like the one that people bust kids into, come in carpools and walk around. So we were standing outside in the snow. The one day it decided to snow in the last like 6 months was Halloween when all the kids were out. So that was fun. We had a great time. My parents came over, and it's always fun. Sometimes I feel like they get the short end of the stick because they watch Bryce pretty much every day. So Kelsey and I we try to be intentional about the fun stuff, inviting them out to do as well, because you want them to be able to be grandparents and us watch Bryce or be the primary care for Bryce. But I mean, he absolutely loves having them around. We're going to get into this a little bit later with this week's episode. But he's speaking in full sentences, understanding things. Like, I mean, his speech is just, I feel like every time we come on, I say it's exploding. I feel like it's exponentially getting better. He's starting to finally understand colors a little bit. Favorite color is pink, which I mentioned before. And the last couple things, I know we'll probably talk about this a little bit more when it's your turn to go over your week. But Bryce and Peyton had a play date. And every time they get together, Kelsey and I always come home and we're like, we need to make an effort to like get them together more often, because they play really well together, have a good time. And it's just fun seeing him around like other kids his age. And then the last thing it's not necessarily a sour note, but he's had a diaper rash this is going on like 2 weeks. First we thought it was like yeast related. Then it looked more like a traditional diaper rash, but wasn't getting better. We had like prescriptions that the doctor recommended, cortisone, a few other things. Finally looks like we're getting that under control. And then it got like on his backside. That wasn't kind of in the front. In the backside, it seems like there's like an eczema patch that's sprouting up and spreading a little bit. So kid can't catch a break right now. He's walking around. He calls it hurt when it itches, but he'll look up at you and says, "Diaper hurt," and it breaks your heart when you do that, when he says that. So hopefully we're getting that under control. He actually went to the doctor for it a couple days ago. They didn't seem that concerned, which was both annoying and relieving.
Oh yeah.
At the same time, literally one thing they said was, "Yeah, this is one of the tamer cases of diaper rash we've seen over the last couple of weeks." So it kind of, it kind of makes you feel like a jerk to a degree as a parent, because you're like, am I overreacting? But then things aren't getting better. He's had the same rash for a couple of weeks. It's like, I don't really care what you feel or what I feel like is passive aggressive. You about to take care of my kid. So that's always fun with the doctor, kind of reading between the lines, and sometimes they think you're tripping, other times they don't. And sometimes you want to go upside their head, but I didn't do that. We're not going to do that. We're going to be nice.
Deep breaths.
But I can definitely take the doctor. What you guys been up to?
Man, this last couple of weeks has been a ton. Starting with Halloween, you mentioned your neighborhood was not that neighborhood. Our neighborhood was. This is our first year in our new neighborhood, and we were kind of excited. We bought a ton of candy, and like nobody was out. And I don't know if they go other places in our neighborhood or because of the snow, but we were the lame neighborhood. I think we had one trick-or-treater, like one family. It was crazy.
One?
Yeah, and you've been in my house multiple times, Brandon. I got a decent amount of houses around. I have no idea what that was about. But
we might have to all get together in my neighborhood next year and go trick or treat.
We might, yeah, because we're definitely not doing it in my neighborhood if we're still here. But Peyton, she dressed up as Ariel, and Avery was Ursula, and she was super cute. I was King Triton, Macy was Flounder. But Peyton was a little bit of a hot mess on Halloween. She didn't want the costume on, cried when I put it on her. Then I tried showing her in the mirror. Finally, she was like, "Oh, wait a minute. I love this. This is the best thing ever." But then she didn't want to put on a coat, didn't want to put on shoes or socks. So we ended up not going around because, one, it was snowy. She wouldn't put anything on, and she was kind of in a mood. But she ended up having fun in the house. What we thought we were going to pass out candy, but my in-laws were over, so she was hanging out with Grammy and Grandpa, and we were hanging out having fun, and she was loving her costume. So that was nice. And then, to kind of go over our last couple of weeks with Avery, a lot's happened with Avery in the last couple of weeks. Man, it's crazy. She's almost 5 months now, and she was sleeping horribly, Brandon. I mean, like, terrible. Waking up like 6-7 times a night. I think I showed you like the Candid app, and it was bad. And she was just we took her to the doctors for one of her checkups, and they're like, yeah, they did diagnose her as colicky, and we were having a rough time. So finally one night, Macy puts her down.
2 for 2.
Yeah. We put her down, and normally she goes to bed a little after her sister, so around 8:30, 9 o'clock. Macy puts her down. She comes downstairs. 2 minutes later, you hear her crying. And we're trying to get stuff done. We're trying to, get the dishes done, get the house cleaned. So I just looked at Macy, and we didn't even plan this. We didn't even talk about it. I go, you know what? Let her cry for a minute. I was like, I'll go up there. I'm going to kind of basically on what I was trying to tell her without telling her is like, hey, I'm going to try to Ferber this chick, this the kid tonight. You know what I mean? So I go up there after a few minutes, and I pat her back, and I put her pacifier in her mouth. I'm rubbing her back. I come out. She's still crying. I'm like, Macy's like, all right, I can go feed her. I'm like, no. Just hang on. So I do this like 3 times, and maybe 3 or 4 times. It's probably like a half an hour this is going on, and she falls asleep. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. So we go to bed. She wakes up in the middle of the night, and I'm like, let me try to go in there. So I go in there, put a pacifier and pat her back. She falls asleep again. So I don't know. The next night I do the same thing. It was kind of not planned, but we kind of did the Ferber method. Like, I don't know. I just kind of did the expedited version of it, or whatever you want to call it. And since then, she has slept a lot better. She's not sleeping through the night. She definitely wakes up. But now when she wakes up, either A, you can pretty much put her pacifier back in her mouth, pat her back, and she goes to sleep. Or she's hungry, which Macy's got to feed her usually at least once through the night, sometimes twice. But it's a million times better than she was. So that has been fantastic. The only other thing that's a little bit odd that we aren't entirely sure is this kind of coincided because we were struggling so much with her sleep. Macy also put her on her belly, which we're not recommending this because they say back is best, but Peyton slept so much better on her belly that we're like, we're going to try whatever we can because the kid's not sleeping, right? Plus, she had a ton of, she was sick. So the reason we did it is she was, choking on her phlegm. And we're like, maybe if she's, on her stomach, it won't go down her throat. So we put a Nanit band on her, too, so that her breathing was being measured. And then we put her on her belly. That was, the night before I did this. So since then, she's been sleeping on her belly and kind of doing the Ferber method, and it's been a million times better at night. So that's good. The weird part was that when we started this, Avery actually hadn't rolled over yet because she had been where she get to her side, but she didn't complete the roll. So we were like, we didn't really want to do it because they say don't do it until they can roll. But it's she can, but she doesn't, But anyways, a couple days afterwards, she actually did roll for the first time. So she's rolled for the first time now. It was actually Macy was kind of upset. She rolled probably 10 minutes before she got home. And I was in Peyton's room with them getting ready. And she rolled for Dad. And it was super cool, which I've gotten a lot of firsts lately. I got Peyton's first words were Dada. I saw Peyton walk. Macy didn't for the first time. I got the roll. And then even the other day, Peyton said...
You're just rubbing it in right now, aren't you?
Peyton said her first, I love you, and it was to me. So Macy was around for it, though. She did hear that one. So anyways, but...
Yeah,
so
my experience is exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm the last to see and hear everything. My mom and dad get it before I do.
You have been novice. I've been lucky in that regard. But Avery, she rolled over, so that was super cool. Since then, she really hasn't rolled much. But like I said, she rolls to her side all the time. She just doesn't complete it, but she completed it that one time.
How Peyton react to her rolling?
So that was the funny part. I think I told you this, Brandon, but it was hilarious. They were playing, literally, both on their bellies. Peyton's cupping her face and patting her back, and they're laughing. And then Avery rolled, and then I was like, "Yay, Avery!" And Peyton got so upset. She literally started going, no, and like almost like crying. And she's like, and at first I'm like, what are you mad about? And then she starts trying to like roll Avery back over, like yanking on her arm, like knock it off. So she's getting so mad that the baby, and she's like pointing to the ground at the baby. And I'm like, what are you doing? So I pick Avery up, put her in my lap, and then she's mad that she's in my lap. So I had to like put Avery back down and put Peyton in my lap. It was a whole thing. I have no idea why Peyton got mad. She has been getting more jealous lately. I don't know if it has something to do with that. But it was kind of funny because she legit was so upset that she rolled out of like nowhere. So that was interesting. But yeah, Avery teething as well. So she's been a little bit rough during the days. She gave me tonight was a rough night once I got home from work. She was pretty upset pretty much the whole time I was here. But she's definitely teething. She's like practically eating her hand off because of her teeth. So you kind of feel bad for the kid. But the good news is she's showing a lot more personality. The kid's smiling all the time, making goofy expressions. Definitely.
Yeah, she was giving me a bunch of smiles.
Yeah, she definitely has some personality now, and that's kind of fun. A big thing for her too. We had her baptism this past week, or maybe that was 2 weekends ago. But she had her baptism. She did absolutely great in the water, just like Peyton did. A funny story there is the priest is doing all his stuff, blessing her, doing everything, and then he goes, all right, get her changed and we're going to put her in the water. And like legit, like 5 seconds before he says that, Avery poops and Macy's holding her and I can hear it. And I literally look at her and she starts like, kind of like Macy gives me a look. And then, so the priest is like, all right, hand me the baby. And Macy's like, we're going to need 20 seconds. So we're going to change her really quick. The good news is she pooped before going in the water. But she did great. She did great in that. And then we had a nice party, and that went really well. Peyton wasn't able to nap that day, so I was worried. But with all the kids, she had fun. She was actually good. So it was a really, really nice day. And speaking of Peyton, she's man, Brandon, you said you've been saying it all the time with Bryce's speech exploding. I have not been saying that all the time with Peyton, but I will say it for these last 2 weeks. Her speech has absolutely exploded. She is out of nowhere all of a sudden saying so much, and it really, we've taken a complete 180 in her speech just in the last couple weeks. She's saying her colors. She's right most of the time, but she says colors. She started saying her ABCs. She's counting. She count to 5 today, and she's using speech instead of just wanting to communicate non-verbally, which she would love to do. Like today, usually when she wants more, she would just sign more. But today she's like, more please, or I need help, she'll say. Or she'll say, like she's saying like she's communicating with you verbally instead of non-verbally. She kept telling the dog to come on today. She's like, come on, and like motioning to her. So like, but she's starting to say a lot, which is just, it's been a lot of fun. And, she said, I love you. Like I said, she said, I love you, which she had never said before. So it's been, it's just.
It melted your little heart, didn't it?
It did. It's been great. And she's also like, this age she's at right now, I'm so in love with this age she's at because she's so much fun. She's crazy, but she's like, she can laugh. Like can get her to laugh super easy. She likes to wrestle a little bit now. Like we can kind of like pick her up and mess with her, and she thinks it's hilarious. She's, she's independent enough where you don't have to freak out every 2 seconds. I don't know. It's just a great age. It's a lot of fun. She definitely still has her moods, but I feel like even those we've been able to like kind of get over now. Like today she got mad because I wouldn't let her draw on the wall with a marker. So but we got over that pretty quickly. But no, she's been doing really, really good, and it's been fun. The only negative thing is, like I said, she has started to get a little more jealous where Avery's concerned. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. She's never really been too bad. She definitely acted out when Avery first came at home, but she wasn't like, it didn't seem because of jealousy. I think she just was, was a big change. But lately she'll get upset sometimes, like if I have the baby and she wants to be in my lap, or if the baby has a blanket and she wants the blanket. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But it's been busy, man. It's been a busy couple weeks. It's been a fun couple weeks. We're getting a little bit more sleep, which is great. And now the big thing, Brandon, and you know this, but in a couple days we're going to have a birthday party for Peyton because this month she turns 2, which is absolutely insane. That's also another thing she likes to say is I'm 2. Or there's sometimes she goes, I'm not 2. Like, well, that's technically right. You're not. So, So we're excited for the birthday party. I'm
Yeah.
excited to get all the kids together too. That'll be a good time.
No, it'll be fun. You did remind me. I didn't mention it, but we are definitely at our favorite age, and you start to. I don't know if you guys felt like this, but I feel like we've gotten in such a groove as a family, and with Bryce, like we went through a little bit. Like I felt like you did at this point, and then after he turned 2, there was probably like a 2-3 week stretch where I was like, "Is this the beginning of the terrible twos?" Because this kid kind of is great 50% of the time and kind of sucks 50%. Yeah, he's kind of. What are you doing, bro? But I mean, I really feel like it started after I spent like the week with him, and I mean he's great. Like he doesn't really have that many bad moods. There's not much to complain about, and he's back to being cuddly. He's coming over. He wants me to read him books 50 times a day. And then he's being cute all the time. Me and Kelsey like looked at each other the other day and was like, man, this is perfect. And we're about to introduce chaos to this like perfect situation again. Like, what the heck are we thinking? But you'll get to this point again with the new kid.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna get to that point again. So, but yeah, it is a little chaos. I won't lie. You'll definitely introduce chaos. But one thing you got
a little smirk on your face, like you can't wait for me to experience it.
I can't for multiple reasons, but one thing I forgot to mention is we not only had a play date with Bryce, which was a great, Peyton just plays so well with him, but we also met up with some of our other friends who had a second baby recently. So they have 2 girls just like us, and their oldest is a little bit older than Peyton, and they don't play quite as well together. They play decently well together, but she's a little bit more territorial over toys. But it's just funny because they said the same thing that I thought when we brought Avery home, and I'm sure you guys are going to be the exact same way. There's something different, like you with Bryce, when you get that first moment of him as a brother, as like a sibling, that's a different feeling. I don't even know how to describe it because you won't know until you have it, and then you'll see it, and you'll be like, okay. This is different.
I'm feeling warm and fuzzy even thinking about it.
Yeah. Our buddy Ryan, it was his house we were at, right? And he literally was like, I didn't cry when the baby was born. Because he's not an overly emotional guy, right? He's like, I didn't cry when the baby was born. I didn't cry when, their first kid was born. He's like, but when, their oldest met the youngest, he's like, that got me. And I'm like, yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Like, because even today, like when Peyton and Avery have like moments, that's the best. There's literally nothing better. So I'm excited for you guys to get that part of it. There will be a lot of chaos, a lot of parts that I'll kind of laugh with you about, but that part it makes it worth it. It's just so cool to see them as a sibling. It just for Bryce and for the new baby, both of it, it'll be great. So
no, I can't wait.
Yeah, it'll be great. So Brandon, what piece of baby gear do you have to go over this week?
So my baby gear actually comes from a place that a lot of dad gear comes from, and that's Home Depot. But it's so Kelsey's favorite Christmas movie, bar none, is The Grinch. The real Grinch with Jim Carrey as the Grinch. Yeah. So Bryce has a few different Grinch toys, and we got him to say the Grinch. I cut it short a couple thes for the listeners. But Home Depot sells a Grinch 12-inch animated scooter. So it's a Grinch sitting on the scooter that like sings songs to you and goes back and forth. It's perfect for the holidays, get you in the Christmas spirit, and Bryce loves playing with that toy. He presses the button, it goes back and forth, he drags it around the house, tries to get it to go. It's a little bit pricier than I think Kelsey told me after I saw it at home. I looked it up for the baby gear, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, $30 at Home Depot, and it's probably about $15 more expensive than it should be. So catch it on sale. I'm sure she got it on sale.
There you go.
Wink, wink.
My baby gear, I'll save some money for the folks out there. My baby gear today is honestly mostly directed at people who have daughters, but it's something that you don't necessarily have to spend any money on. You definitely can spend money on, but if you have anyone. If you have old ones, or if your friends do, or you can get them from Salvation Army or from like Facebook pages and stuff. But anyways, basically my piece of baby gear is headbands. if you have old headbands that like you don't really care about or that are like made for like dolls, Peyton, we bought a bunch or got donated to us a bunch, and she freaking loves those things. She thinks it's fun to put on her head, to put on your head, to put on the dog's head, to put on their doll's head, and so she will play with them quite frequently. And again, probably won't cost you anything if you don't want to. It's simple. And just, I mean, if you got a little girl and probably little boys too, but she loves headbands. And I made the mistake of one time pretending that the headband was like Cyclops, and now she thinks that's hilarious. So she puts them over her eyes all the time, like Cyclops. It's like
isn't it funny, like the one-offs that you do, like that are funny in a moment, and they turn into like 45 minutes every day of the same thing.
And then she wants to like do it to me all the time. So then it's like, okay, well I got a headband in front of my eyes 24/7. So, and then she does the poor dog. That's mostly the dog stuff is our fault, because I'll like do something funny to the dog and then she will do it 1,000 times to the dog afterwards. And I'm like, sorry, Raja. That's on me. I'm sorry you're getting a headband put on you all the time. And she's not delicate.
Riley's
or
about
like,
sick advice.
Yeah. So, but that's my piece of baby gear. Again, not one brand or anything. It's just something simple and easy. Even if you got a couple in the house that maybe your wife still wears or something like that, give them to them and they'll probably play with them for a while. So, and Peyton really started playing with them probably a little bit after 1. So pretty young, and she still plays with it. So, and she's probably got like 5 or 6 of them. For sure.
Headbands. Now we can go from headbands to speech.
It's
a pretty weak segue.
That was a horrible segue. I thought you could give me like a B.O.B. reference or something, but I don't know. Anyways, speech. It was a decent reference.
It was trash song.
Yeah. So this is a topic. I won't lie to you, Brandon. This is a topic that probably, I don't know, 5-6 months ago, I knew we were at some point in time going to have this as a topic. And it was something that we were kind of going through as a family. And when we were first going through it, I didn't really want to talk about it. So, one, I didn't want to talk about it on the podcast, but I didn't really want to talk about it in general. And so it's odd because like I knew it was going to be a topic, but I wanted to talk about it in a time where I was more well-versed, but also more comfortable talking about it. And honestly, the reason I wasn't comfortable talking about it wasn't because I was like embarrassed or upset. It was because I didn't really quite know what exactly we were dealing with. And I was in a point where I didn't feel like hearing from other people, because there's going to be people that are telling you you're overreacting. And then there's the people that are going to tell you need to do this or do that. And it was like, we just wanted to focus on what we were trying to get the information we could get so that it could, help us make the best decisions, and we knew as soon as we started telling people, it would open Pandora's box and everyone's going to give us their 2 cents. And we just didn't want that, especially because some things, as we'll go into with speech, is more, in the last 10, 15 years, as opposed to, our parents, when they were raising us, it wasn't as they didn't have as many resources, and it wasn't as widely talked about, I guess.
Are you basically saying you didn't want to hear the boomers' point of view?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. But it was also not just them. It's also like people that are our age that maybe didn't go through things like that or whatever. So, like if your kid's talking in complete sentences at 1, I don't want to hear how just be patient, or you know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, well, it's different for you. And that's the thing, is every kid's different. So you got to see, is there an issue, is there not? So, kind of to go through our story and kind of what we're still going through is basically Peyton started saying words very, very young, and it was great. And she started being able to understand us very young, and her communication was pretty good. And then all of a sudden, it like took a big step backwards. She stopped saying words that she could always say, she never said. She didn't say new words, and she would only communicate basically by pointing and almost like grunting. And at first we were like, okay, that's weird, but maybe she's just going through a stage. So the doctor was like, don't worry about it, but if it continues, maybe you need to look at speech therapy. So time went on, and then basically once Avery was born, it hadn't gotten any better. And, Peyton didn't really do a great job communicating. We started using sign language more, and she was good with that, but she didn't use verbal words. And she would do this thing that they call, which is banking words. She would all of a sudden one day start saying a few words and using them correctly and saying them a ton. So like if it's, ball, she'd say ball, ball, ball a million times, right? And using it correctly. And she'd do it for a couple of days, and all of a sudden she'd never say ball again. No matter how many, if you prompted her, no matter what, she wouldn't say it ever again. And she would do this with like a bunch of things, and they call it like banking words. So we got to the point where basically it was like, okay, we don't know if she's behind or not, but we don't want her to fall behind and not do anything, because they say the earlier you can intervene, the better it can be for your kid if they really do have a speech delay. So we went to the pediatrician for like a normal checkup, and they're like, yeah, do you want a referral? We're like, yes. So they gave us a referral. We went to a place where they basically do the testing, and they also do the speech therapy if they test, that they need help. And they basically did the tests where the Peyton was there for like an hour, and they basically play with them, and they do a bunch of different like games and things, and basically see, okay, does she have a speech delay? Does she not have a speech delay? If she does, then she qualifies for speech therapy. They also look at occupational therapy, which is kind of like if she's having behavioral issues. And that's really kind of to backtrack a little bit. That's honestly what pushed us the most towards it, is not only was she having a little bit of speech problems, but it seemed like because she couldn't communicate, she would get super, super upset. And then it would lead to tantrums, and it was like she couldn't tell us what was wrong. And then it seemed unhealthy almost, these tantrums. Like she would get so worked up, and she couldn't like express why she was upset. And so that's why we went. So they basically, had her there, and they found that she did have a speech delay, not like a major one, but she definitely had one. She was behind. And they also thought she, qualified for occupational therapy, which could help with some of the temper tantrums and some of the behavioral type stuff. So she was recommended to go a couple days a week to work on both of these things for about an hour. So we did that for a couple weeks. And long story short, Brandon, basically we found out that what we thought was covered by insurance wasn't. And what turned into being, decently affordable turned into be astronomically unaffordable. Like it was crazy how much it was costing us. So we kind of were like, okay, let's pump the brakes and let's see if there's other options, because, we were trying to be proactive, but we also wanted to just be paying for something we didn't need to be paying for, right?
Yeah.
And once she was going, it did seem like it was helping, but it wasn't like there was a drastic change in her. You know what I mean? Like she wasn't changing drastically. There was maybe a couple small improvements, but nothing major. So, we were talking through things, and we found a program that's called, Early On, which is a program run by the county. And basically it's they come to your house, they do a test kind of themselves. And they think if you qualify for the program, then basically they come to your house once a month, meet with your kid, help them through some activities, give you a bunch of resources to help you at home with your kid in their
pretty great
speech. It is. They also have a bunch of like outings and activities where you can go to like the children's center with a bunch of other kids that are all going through the same program, with a bunch of the kids that are dealing with the same things, and parents and teachers and activities and stuff. So we've been doing that for a couple months now. And because when they came out, they found the same thing, that she did have a speech delay. And so she's gone to an event where basically there was other kids, and it was on Halloween actually, and she like interacted with the kids, and then they've come to the house a couple times, and they've given us stuff at the house to work on. So that's cool. So one thing is, like, if you are dealing with this and maybe the money thing is coming into play, look and see if your community or your counties have these programs, because we have one, and like I said, it's if you qualify for it, you don't have to pay, which is nice, in clutch, like you said, Brandon. So she's been doing this, and again, we've been working a lot with it, and we'll go through like ways to help your kids and stuff. But basically, where we're at now is like I said, she started getting a little bit better. But these last 2 weeks, and we'll see what happens. But she has gone from, like I said, where we always kind of felt like she was a little bit behind other kids her age to, I mean, she's talking right. If she keeps this pace up, I think she'll be right on pace with a bunch of other kids right around her age. I mean, she's saying a lot. She's communicating properly instead of referring to or trying to rely on nonverbal. She's actually like using verbal first, and then she's also parroting, what she's never done before. So if you point at something and you say, like, this is like a character like Donald the other day, and she's like trying to say Donald, like she's trying to repeat me, which she's never done. So that's super exciting too. because she's always talked a lot, but it's always been like gibberish. Now she's actually like trying to say stuff, and like I said, and repeating us. So it's really exciting. But yeah, I mean, I guess in conclusion, like with our stories, like I said, it was something that, we were struggling with. Do we do something? Do we not do something? Is it, are we overreacting? Are we not overreacting? Do we, and we felt like there was definitely something there. It wasn't super major, but then you also don't know, like, okay, is it just speech related, or is there something else going on too? Is it something to do with, Avery being born and that kind of stunted her speech because of the big change? There's a lot of thoughts that go through your head and a lot of emotions, and you worry for your kid, and we did. But I will say there's a lot of good resources out there. There's a lot of good articles and things that we'll kind of touch on here. But, I guess if you're going through this or have gone through it, or don't be afraid to look into things, and don't be afraid to try it. And I'll, usually with your insurance, if you get your kid to go through the speech test, that is covered. Usually the test is, for sure. So you can at least kind of see where they fall without having to worry too much. And then talk to your pediatrician too, because they'll kind of let you know based on what certain questions, like, yeah, you should probably get it looked at or not. And they can give you a referral too. So that's kind of our story in a nutshell, Brandon. And we can kind of touch on like what to do and things like that. But kind of wanted to share, because I haven't talked a lot about it on the podcast, just because, like I said, we were trying to still work our way through it, and we still are. But now I feel like we're a lot more comfortable with talking about it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I'm not going to necessarily go into our story because we don't really have one in that regard, but it's a testament to every kid develops differently and at different paces. That doesn't necessarily mean that something is wrong, right. But I think the way that you guys handle it was the right way. Let's try to take a look at all of our options and see how we can basically prepare our child best. And even as we continue to go through this episode, remember that we might go through tips or things to look out for, or what you should expect at certain points in your child's life. But all these are based on some research, but it isn't an end all be all, and there is some nuance in kind of what to expect from your child. So with that said, I mean, kind of the first place that I wanted to start is, like, at what point do you check with your doctor to see if there may be a delay in your child's speech? And I wanted to quickly go over some milestones to look out for. So, if you're looking like birth to 5, you should expect 5 months, expect a lot of coos, making noise when talking to, vocalizing pleasure and displeasure. And I'm citing the Stanford Children's website, Stanford Medicine. 6 to 11 months, the kid will understand no. They may babble, ba, 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 say mama, dada, without really knowing what they're saying. Between 12 months and roughly a year and a half, they potentially can answer simple questions like non-verbally, potentially say 2 to 3 words to label a person or object, trying to imitate words, and potentially having a vocabulary of 4 to 6 words. Between a year and a half and almost 2 years, potentially you're looking, I say potentially one more time, you can go ahead and come through the microphone. But they would expect about 50 words. You may not be able to fully understand every word that they're saying, but you can kind of get an idea of what they're trying to say. Ask for common foods by name, making animal sounds like moo. And then between 2 and 3 years, which is where I'll leave it off, like knowing some spatial concepts like in or on, pronouns, you, me, her, or I'm not going to go there. Using sentences, things like that as well, and being able to answer simple questions. Take a look at the website. They kind of go through it in a little bit more depth, but those are some basic milestones to look out for in your kid's speech.
Yeah, those are good ones. The big thing what we found, Brandon, is they'll start like asking you about it, your pediatrician, and you usually sometimes you'll get those like surveys or questionnaires or whatever, and right around a year. but they'd say around 18 months is really, if your kid's not at least talking a little bit at 18 months verbally,
Yeah.
that's when you might want to really start looking. And that's kind of where we were at. Like, it was like before 18 months, she actually was, we thought, like on schedule or maybe even a little bit ahead. And then all of a sudden it like just really reverted back. And so at 18 months we started to worry, and then we waited like another couple months, and then finally we were like, okay, we want to get it looked at. So, like you said, like if they're not saying at least a few words or like trying to talk back, that's where you might want to start looking into something. One thing that we have noticed is like when the people were in our house, like from this early on program, that they told us early on, is they said a good sign for Peyton was that she, like I said, she didn't say a lot of words or like communicate verbally to us, but she talked all the time. But it never made any sense. But she said, the lady from early on, she's like, she knows what she's saying, which is a good thing. Like, she's saying things,
Yeah.
she knows what she's saying. She's like, that's actually a positive thing. Like, yes, you want her to progress, but like it's not like she's just like doing baby talk. Like, she actually knows what she's saying. She just is not doing a good job of like getting all the syllables out or getting like the actual like sounds the right way.
You don't have the clarity.
Yeah. So maybe if you notice your kid is like babbles a lot, maybe take comfort in that too. Like that's I guess a good sign. Like, so like I guess like she was a little bit behind with that, but it was like, okay, she's not saying anything. It's different than like if a kid that just doesn't talk at all, right? That's a different problem. So there's different things to look out for. If your kid doesn't say anything at all, that could be one thing. If your kid, like I said, babbles, that could be something different. If your kid, it gets overly emotional and stuff, there's a lot of different things to look out for. So, good points. And another thing too, Brandon, that we'll kind of go into now. So if you're starting to notice these things, and maybe you don't want to go to a speech therapist or you don't want to do one yet, and you want to work on stuff at home, there's things you can do. We'll kind of touch on a few. I know one that we've talked about before and I mentioned earlier is actually sign language. That it's kind of weird. It's almost counterintuitive. Like, if I'm teaching them to talk and communicate non-verbally, how does that help them verbally? But everything you read and every doctor, like if you see it out there, they say it actually does. Now, again,
you guys experience.
Yeah, we did. And again, now the key too is when you're signing it, you're still saying it. So if you're signing more, you're saying more. If you're saying please, you're saying please. And that's the thing. Peyton could sign please more. Like, she could sign like 10, 15 different things for a long, long time. And we're at the point now where, like, please, she would always just rub her chest, which is the sign for please. Now she'll say please and do it, which is great, but we always, every time we would say please, we would say please, we would sign it and still say it. So you want to make sure you're still saying the signs, or even if they're signing something, saying like, oh, you want more, or, oh, good job saying please, good job saying thank you. So sign language is one that you can actually help them out with, because if they're able to communicate, then it can help them open up the other forms of communication. I guess it's like kind of the theory behind it. So signing is one that I'll lead off with. Brandon, what's another one that you read about?
So there are a few. One thing that we did is actually narrating our day-to-day actions. So I'm opening the refrigerator, I'm cooking you dinner, and it sounds kind of basic, but that turned into an understanding from Bryce's standpoint of what we're doing. And then you catch him now, he may open a refrigerator, and the thing you've been saying for the last 2 years of his life, Daddy's opening a refrigerator, now it turns into Bryce is opening a refrigerator. Bryce is cooking, Bryce is vacuuming. So actually narrating your life out loud will help your kid understand, but also they can match the words with an action, which will help them later on as far as speaking.
Yep. Another thing too, and this is something that they tell you not to do, like if your kid's struggling verbally, trying to limit their screen time and TV, even if you're like it's in the background, that can be helpful. So I'm going to say two things. One, we try to do that because like I read that, it was like, okay, let's try to cut down a lot on TVs playing and stuff like that and get her just to play more and talk through things through. But then another thing we did kind of also is if we did play something on TV, we really tried to make it be teaching. So if it was a teaching video or like a Miss Rachel type thing, and it sounds silly, but I honestly think us doing that helped because she started doing things that Miss Rachel
That don't sound silly
did.
to us.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird because like at first I was like, what is she doing? But we started noticing she started doing things that Miss Rachel was doing, and I think that actually really did help her. Like even small things like going or she like puts things in and be like put in like, so she's picked up stuff from that. Not that I'm saying like, hey, watch a ton of Miss Rachel, but if you're gonna watch stuff, try to make it things that are helping them verbally. And literally Miss Rachel has one that's about speech and talking. And that's the one we would play over and over.
Yeah.
So that's something that can help too.
And with Miss Rachel specifically, if you do a little research into her background, part of the reason she created these videos were for her son, and the fact that she didn't feel like there were things that promoted basically speech and early child development online that she can easily access. So she has a little background in music. Actually, if you do a deep dive, you can see like some old Miss Rachel music videos. It's kind of funny. But basically between her husband, and some friends, they did a bunch of research. She has a background in teaching and music, and created a program that honestly, she might be the most popular children's act like that we have right now in the United States, or up there. It's crazy to see. A few other things that they kind of seem like they're basics, but make sure you're reading to your kids.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That if between you reading to them figuring out how to read themselves, that's huge in language development. Telling them stories, it's all really important. I know it's fun. It's fun to read, and a lot of times even reading the same books will help them associate certain things on the pages with the words that they're saying. So make sure you're reading to your kids. That helps out a ton.
Yeah, reading, that's something we did from the beginning, but you're right, Brandon, reading to them. Another thing I read too is give them choices instead of like open-ended questions like, what do you want? Do you want orange? Do you want banana? You know what I mean? Do you want and giving them two things and like saying what they are instead of just like open-ended things like, what's wrong? Does are you sad? And Peyton would always, she was good with yes and no pretty early on, and she would tell you like she didn't want something, but it would be frustrating because we'd be like, what do you want to eat? And she would just tell you no all the time, right? And so I would try to give her choices, and it was just always like no, but she knew what she wanted, and she really struggled to tell us. Now we know, because she either tells us or we just know her well enough at this point. But that's another thing. They tell you, like I said, give them some choices instead of open-ended questions. And you constantly, like you said, it kind of goes into reading, but also just talk with your kids. Constantly be talking with them. No, don't just play with them. Talk with them. Even if it's stuff that is like maybe over their head or not over their head, just ask them what's going on. Like I always ask Peyton when I get home from work, how was your day? What did you do? She's not going to answer me, but like, but yeah, it's just like, you're talking to them. You're just giving them more words.
Bryce has started to answer me.
That's cool. That's really cool.
It's actually, well, you got to, I mean, I'm doing the parent thing where you're reading into it, but if you stop and listen, like, so I might ask him, what'd you do today? And he may say like walk. So he went on a walk with his pawpaw. Mm-hmm. He'll probably say pawpaw. He might say wagon because he got on the wagon with pawpaw. And then he could say, you definitely can know what he watched at my parents' house. So he'll tell on them every time. So it might be awesome. Elmo, it might be Rachel, but like they're typically, those aren't full complete thoughts. They're like one word sentence or one word answers, but a bunch of different one word answers that he gives. But that's kind of our routine every day when I get home.
Well, they definitely pay attention because, like I said, I've been counting and saying the ABCs to Peyton for a very long time. And she never did, and all of a sudden she can do it, like, and it seems like out of nowhere. But because she was listening, she just didn't know how to say it. Now she does, and so it's like if you continue to do something, they will. Like even something small I do, like me and Macy would always be like, like mommy loves you, daddy loves you, sissy loves you, Raja loves you, or mommy. And then all of a sudden, Peyton now will just walk around the house and she'll be like, mommy, daddy, sissy, rah, and she'll just like repeat it like over and over. Like, like it's cute, but like that's what she starts doing. Like she's listening, but it's when they put it all together. Like I said, even the ABCs thing, she never even said ABC, and all of a sudden she's saying half the song one day, and I was like, okay, well, that's cool, So repetition, and just like I said, don't be discouraged by things. Just continue the open communication with your kid.
Yeah, and you bringing up the ABCs is actually my last point, and it's singing and making things songs, because I'm a little bit of a singer. My mom is a lot of bit of a singer, and between the two of us and everything else he hears, we kind of make everything a song anyway. But a lot of the songs, and part of me thinks this is why Miss Rachel works really well, is she does make a lot of everyday things into songs, or sings a lot of popular songs. But you'd be surprised at the songs that you sing every day, and most of the kids' songs have some type of, actually, let me rephrase this. There's a ton of kids' songs that have a bunch of things that you learn, and there's a bunch of kids' songs that if you like stop and listen to what you're saying, like Ring Around the Rosie is a crazy song.
Crazy,
I don't know,
crazy.
It's another song. I'm forgetting it right now. Rockabye Baby. I was actually singing. Bryce has a little baby. I'm getting him ready for like his little brother. He has a baby doll, and I'm singing him Rockabye Baby, and it's like I'm thinking, and basically it's talking about a baby falling like out of the cradle. So that's it's weird, but that's me going on my own little Brandon rabbit trail. One fun thing that I do with singing. And if you haven't done this, those listening, try it out. Like, think of a song that you sing a lot to your kid, and then just stop singing it at strategic points and see if they can finish like the line or the next word for you. I bet they will surprise you, even if you've never done that with them before. If you've sung the song enough times, they can probably finish the song for you. And that's something Bryce and I do every day. Pretty much every song we sing, he ends the line or he starts the next line, and it can help with their speech development as well.
Yeah, Brandon, I sing Peyton "You Are My Sunshine" every night, which is like a breakup song. So that's great.
Oh no, I didn't know that. Is that really?
Yeah,
I need to look up the lyrics.
Yeah. But the last point I will make is, again, if your kid is going through something, or maybe you're worried about a speech delay, there are a lot of resources out there. There's your pediatrician, but there's also a lot of speech therapy places. And so if they do need help, or if you think it is a good idea, and especially if your insurance covers it, or you have the means to do so, don't be too proud either to go to a place and have them go to speech therapy 1 to 2 days a week, or whatever is recommended. I know of a lot of people who have, and I've read a lot of stories, and there's a ton of success stories out there. And a lot of people say that the earlier you do it, the better, and you're not going to hurt your kid by doing it. I guess it's a big thing too. It's not like your kid went to speech therapy and all of a sudden they have bad tendencies. So, don't be afraid of it, and don't wait until they're 3 or 4. Sometimes, usually, it's better, if they're still 1 or 2, and try to get them in there so that they can communicate properly. Because a lot of times, if they're not verbally communicating properly, it can lead to emotional issues too, and some of that kind of stuff. Which again is some of what we saw with Peyton. Is I think she would get so upset because she didn't know how to express herself. And we're seeing less of that now, so maybe it's because her speech is better. I don't know. It could just be an age thing too. So this is a thing that I'll continue to update everyone on, because we're still going through it. But and we have some resources out there that we've been using, and we've talked to some people that have gone through similar things. But it can be scary. It can be frustrating. Like I said, if your kids are around you that are speaking in complete sentences and they're around the same age, it's like, okay, what's wrong? But kids do grow at a different timetable. They learn at different rates. They have different things going on in their lives. So you don't want to freak out, but you also do want to do things to help them, and language is a big thing. So, as we continue to go through it, we'll update you guys. But I can honestly say that this probably is the best week to talk about this because we had our 2 best weeks ever as far as language is concerned, and it's been a long journey to get here, but it's been worth it, and it's super fun right now, especially with her talking the way she is.
Yeah, it is fun, and I just looked up the lyrics of "You Are My Sunshine," and kind of pseudo read a little article about what it means, and
Yep.
how incredibly sad that is.
I sing it to her every night.
Rockabye Baby is no better. Yeah, I probably stopped singing that song.
Yep. So we'll leave it at that. But that's a good place to end, Brandon. I got a dad joke for you. You ready?
I hope it's better than Rockabye Baby or You Are My Sunshine.
You my sunshine. Well, Brandon, did you hear what happened to the wooden car?
No, I did not.
It wouldn't go.
That was a dad. You are good for a dad joke. Like, these are daddy dad jokes. It's kind of a weird way for me to put it. Yeah, I did say daddy. Then you said
stay away from daddy.
I said daddy. Yeah. All right. Wrap this up.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up on that. The Daddy Joke Podcast. All right. Well, for Brandon, I'm Jerry. You guys have been listening to our podcast. If you haven't before, please like us on all our social media. Please tell us what you think. Please give us ideas. We love hearing from each and every single one of you. Tell your friends about us. Write us a review. It's been a crazy journey. Like I said, we're getting close to 100 episodes. I cannot believe that. You guys have kind of heard us grow up with our kids, which is pretty crazy. If you're a newer listener, go back and listen to some old episodes. If you're from the beginning, we appreciate you guys. But as always, for Jerry, I'm joined here by Brandon, and you've been listening to Dad Jokes.